The Penguin series isn't merely a show about a DC character spun off from a blockbuster movie franchise. No, it is something far more fundamental, far more primal. At its core, The Penguin is about one thing, and that thing is something we've seen countless times before in popular culture. But what sets this show apart is not the theme itself, rather the masterful way in which it is portrayed. We've witnessed this theme play out in the scheming corridors of power in House of Cards, the backstabbing politics of Game of Thrones, and the corporate chess matches of Succession. It's an allure that captivates almost all of humanity, the raw, intoxicating pursuit of power. Now, in the grimy underworld of Gotham City, we see this age-old struggle brought to life once again through the lens of a brilliant, yet often overlooked character, Oswald Cobblepot. The series centres around Oswald, an unassuming driver for Sophia Falcone in his early days, a seemingly insignificant cog in the vast machinery of Gotham's criminal empire. Yet, over many years, Oz meticulously and quietly crafted an ever-growing grip on the underworld. He operated for anyone who would fill his pockets, and lately, it's been a powerful Falcone family reaping the benefits of his cunningness. Oswald is relentless, ruthlessly so. He's a figure shrouded in twisted humour and marked by his disfigured appearance. To many, he's a menace, but to those higher up in the hierarchy, he's something else entirely. A wildcard, a self-serving player whose motives can never truly be trusted. He's seen as a tool, perhaps useful but ultimately disposable. Yet it's precisely this underestimation that he uses to his own advantage. So the question becomes, how does Oswald, a so-called nobody, successfully navigate the perilous waters of Gotham's criminal hierarchy? The answer lies in what the Penguin is really all about. Power. Not just the possessing of it, but wielding it like a master puppeteer, orchestrating control from the shadows. Power, in Oz's world, is a ladder of chaos, and he's learned exactly how to climb it with ruthless efficiency. This essence of power isn't something easily captured on screen. Many shows display power when it's easily accessible, be it through the dominance of a large army or sheer force of immense wealth. But what the Penguin does so well is show power as something far more nuanced, the intellectual craft of manoeuvring against those above you. It's power in its purest form, reminiscent of the strategic brilliance of Frank Underwood and House of Cards. It's almost as though Oz stepped out of a chapter of a Robert Greene book. But Oswald's rise isn't merely a product of raw ambition. It's built on a foundation of calculated decisions and a distinct mindset that differentiates him from the others in his world. And so it is worth taking a look at how he climbs his way up, rung by rung, through Gotham's chaotic criminal landscape. Part 1. There are no setbacks. For most people, setbacks and misfortune are seen as obstacles, barriers that slow their progress or knock them off course. Being fired from a job, dumped by a partner, such events are typically viewed through a lens of defeat. But this is where Oswald diverges from the rest. For Oz, setbacks simply do not exist. He is incapable of dwelling on what went wrong. Instead, he focuses on the next step, always looking upwards, even if that step is a lateral move onto a different ladder entirely. In his eyes, every mishap is not a hindrance, but an opportunity. A perfect example of this mindset is when Oz, in a fit of rage, shoots Roberto Falcone. Most would see this as a colossal error, a move that could unravel everything he's built. But Oz does not panic. He doesn't shore up his defenses or scramble for cover. Instead, he doubles down. He immediately claims Roberto's drug operation as his own, framing it as a joint venture and positioning himself for a leadership role in the very void he has just created. Even when caught in a lie about the incident, Oz never falters. He backs himself without hesitation, spinning a narrative so convincingly, even he starts to believe it. This is what makes Oz so dangerous. His ability to rewrite reality into his own mind, his mastered a sort of self-deception that allows him to navigate through crises without losing momentum. It's not merely optimism, it's a ruthless form of psychological resilience that transforms every setback into a potential gain. Part 2. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Gotham is a beast of a city, and anyone foolish enough to think they can take it on alone is destined for failure. Oz knows this better than anyone. So, when the Falcone family slight him and try to shut down his drug operations, he doesn't retaliate on his own. Instead, he employs a classic strategy: align with another faction temporarily to advance his own interests. Enter the Marone family. Oz makes a calculated gamble, extending an olive branch by returning the Marone ring to Sal in person. On the surface, it's an act of good faith, a gesture meant to buy favour with a rival family. But underneath, it's a brilliant piece of misdirection. By aligning with the Marones, Oz sets up a scenario where he can manipulate them into taking the fall for Robert Falcone's murder. It is a high-risk move, but one that provides him with optionality, a way out of his predicament if things go south with Sophia Falcone. This maneuver showcases a key tenet of Oz's strategy. Sometimes to get ahead, you have to let someone else take a step forward first. In the criminal underworld of Gotham, it isn't about who's leading the race at any given time, it's about who's left standing when the race is over. By using the Maronis as pawns in his larger game, Oz ensures that he's always one step ahead from fallout, allowing him to advance while others are left to pick up the pieces. Part 3. Knowledge is power. This phrase is a cliché, but it's one that Oz fully embraces. In the treacherous waters of Gotham, information isn't just helpful, it's lethal. Oz understands that the right piece of dirt can be more valuable than any amount of muscle or money. This is why we first see him going to 44 Below to retrieve the incriminating photos of Johnny Veedy, a move that speaks volumes about his priorities. Knowing that Johnny is having an affair with the boss's wife isn't just a piece of gossip, it's a weapon, and one that Oz wields with great precision. But Oz's mastery of information goes beyond just collecting secrets. It's also about using them effectively. When confronted by Roberto Falcone in the same scene, Oz doesn't shy away or try to hide what he's doing. Instead, he boldly admits he was getting the photos for Roberto himself. It's a risky play, but it does pay off. Oz knows how to read the room and adapt on the fly, turning a potential confrontation into an opportunity. He even capitalizes on Roberto's weaknesses, getting him drunk before eventually killing him, demonstrating his ability to leverage others' flaws against them. Oz's entire approach to power hinges on this. The right knowledge at the right time can turn the tide in any situation, and he is always gathering more information. Part 4. A strong network. Oswald's rise is no accident, nor is it the result of brute force or luck. Instead, it's a carefully curated network of alliances, favours, and a Rolodex of contacts that he has built over years of operating in Gotham's underworld. Oz has learned one of the most crucial lessons in power. It's not just what you know, but who you know and how you use them. Whether it's assembling a team to hit a truck, distributing product across the city, or crafting an alibi on a moment's notice, Oz knows the value of a strong network. It's easy to overlook this aspect of his power because it isn't flashy, but it's in these moments of quiet manoeuvring that we see Oz's genius at work. He doesn't need a formal organization or an empire to wield influence. Instead, he leverages loose ties and favors owed. We see this when he calls on girls to provide him an alibi when the police start sniffing around. Their loyalty is rooted not in fear or money, but in a deeper understanding that Oz has always looked after his own, a kind of twisted, genuine loyalty. Or take his new driver, Victor, for instance. Most would see a driver as a mere tool, a means of transportation, but Oz sees beyond the role. He sees Victor as an asset, a man who can discreetly deliver a dead body to Sophia Gicante's doorstep, a pawn in a game that only Oz knows he's playing. And this highlights something critical. Oz's network isn't made up of the most powerful people, it's made up of the most useful people. He leverages those who are underestimated by others, from bartenders who hear whispers or secrets to the small-time crooks who know the city's hidden routes. Oz knows that Gotham's most valuable players aren't necessarily at the top of the food chain. It's this nuanced understanding that allows him to manipulate the pieces on the board so effectively. Where others might see a series of disconnected dots, Oz sees a web of opportunity, and he's always one step away from pulling the right string. And it's not just about calling in favours, it's about making those favours count. For Oz, it's not enough to simply have connections. He uses them strategically, often as part of a larger scheme that only becomes clear much later. He plays the long game, cultivating trust and seeding doubt in equal measure, ensuring that when the time comes, he can rely on his network without hesitation. This is why, even when backed into a corner, he always has a way out. Part 5. Mastering perception. Perhaps Oz's greatest strength lies in his ability to control the narrative. He doesn't just deal in drugs or weapons, he deals in perception. In a city like Gotham, where power shifts with the latest scandal or rumour, being able to influence how others see you is paramount, and Oz is a master of this craft. We see this in how he dresses, how he carries himself, and how he speaks. He's well aware of his disfigured look and the effect it has on others. Rather than hide it, he leans into it, using his appearance as an unsettling tool to throw people off balance. It's not vanity, it's calculated intimidation. When Oz enters a room, people notice, and he uses that attention to his own advantage, often saying very little but implying much more. In the aftermath of Roberto Falcone's death, Oz doesn't just react, he rewrites the story. By planting seeds of doubt and using his connections to spread whispers, he manages to turn suspicion away from himself and onto his rivals. He knows that in Gotham, perception is often more important than truth, and he exploits this at every turn. He isn't just operating in the shadows, he's crafting them, controlling what people see and believe. Oz's understanding of perception extends beyond himself. He knows how to play on others' biases and fears of others. When dealing with the police, he presents himself as a legitimate businessman, a man who has been wronged by the Falcone family. But when dealing with criminals, he's the ruthless Penguin, a figure not to be trifled with. It is a balancing act, and Oz walks the line with the precision of a tightrope artist. He understands that sometimes the best move is to let others believe they are the ones in control. This is evident when he seemingly aligns himself with Sophia Falcone, appearing to be her loyal subordinate. In reality, Oz is already plotting his next move, positioning himself to take advantage of her weaknesses. He's a master manipulator, using perception as both a shield and a weapon, ensuring that by the time his opponents realize what's happening, it is far too late. The art of the climb. The Penguin series might be set in the familiar, gritty landscape of Gotham, but it's really about something universal. The quest for power, the art of survival, and the ruthless game of climbing the ladder. Oz is not your typical villain. He's not a caricature of evil, but a deeply complex character whose methods and motives we can't help but be fascinated by. Oz doesn't just want power, he craves control, and he's willing to use every tool at his disposal to get it. Whether it's leveraging setbacks as opportunities, making temporary allies out of enemies, building an extensive network, or mastering the art of perception, every move he makes is a part of a calculated strategy. He's not just climbing the ladder of chaos, he's reshaping it, bending it to his will, one rung at a time. And that's what makes the Penguin series so captivating. It's a show not just about corruption, but about the intricate dance of power, the manipulation of those around you, and the unrelenting drive of one man to rise above it all. It's a story we've seen before, but never quite like this, and that's what makes The Penguin worth watching.